What Doppelganger is doing in that episode is, I mean, you're just like, that dude's got dead written all over him. Like, right. I'm going to emotionally manipulate Homelander. Like, okay, I hope you got a lot of cash and already spent it because you're on a very short clock. Hey, Litternet! It's Paul, it's Matt, the Dork Lords. We are here talking about The Boys, Season 2, Episodes 3 and 4, Over the Hill with the Swords of 1,000 Men, and Nothing Like It in the World. Swords of 1,000 Men is a song by a punk band called
Billy Joel.
Billy Joel, yeah. Tenpole Tutor. Like, I have all their albums. Anyway, I looked it up. But basically, it was also, apparently that name was used as the name for a story arc in the comics. And so it was being brought back here for the show. Nothing Like It in the World. I mean, that show has a lot, that particular episode 4, has a lot to do with relationships. Maybe they're talking about love, a many splendored thing. But anyway, we'll talk about it. So, just like we typically do, let me show you where we open, where we close. So we open with Huey and the gang on a boat. They are hiding Kimiko's brother, intending to trade him in for info on Butcher's wife. Huey is listening to Billy Joel, that famous Billy Joel song, Over the Hill with the Swords of 1,000. No. Listening to You're Only Human. And we see part of the video. We see Billy Joel is in The Boys.
Yes.
So it's Billy Joel, and in the video he's talking someone out of jumping. So talking someone out of suicide. This is a kind of a low ebb for Huey. And so I think he's feeling some of that relevance himself in this moment. He's regretting his life choices. He's mad at Butcher. Butcher hit him at the end of last episode, if you remember. And they were at odds. Well, Butcher does this apology. He's like, I'm sorry. Okay, so that's it, right? We're good? Yeah. Like I said the words, which is actually probably tough for him to do, but still. It rings hollow, but he said it. But Huey punches him. And so, the Billy Joel thing does come up quite a bit. We've gotten a few songs that we got Pressure. We've gotten We Didn't Start the Fire. And we've gotten this one, obviously, You're Only Human. That's the last thing he said to his girlfriend back in season 1 before she died or was killed by A-Train was the, what was it? Never besmirch Billy Joel. If you out there in comment land have an idea, give a guess for you think what the next Billy Joel song is going to be, and I'll give my prediction here in a second. All right, but we end episode 4 with Homelander, maybe one of the most bizarrely disturbing scenes in the series, telling himself he's pathetic and killing himself. It's actually the superpowered person, doppelganger. And he's basically acknowledging to himself that he doesn't need everyone or maybe even anyone to love him. And we see, interestingly, Doppelganger does not change back into his typical form when he dies. He's still Homelander. Yeah. So it's this Homelander sees himself in a dress lying dead on the floor as he stands over him and monologues. You're like, oh, that guy's psychotic. He's gone now and will do terrible, terrible things. He was already doing terrible things, but the fact that now he's like, you know what? The one thing constraining me was my need for, affection from, goodwill from the populace. I don't need that anymore. Like, oh no, oh no. All right, here we go. Guess for a Billy Joel song for me.
Leave a tender moment alone.
All right, that could work. That could work. Jackie and I were talking about it, and we came up on Uptown Girl. Uptown Girl. You got Starlight and Huey.
Sure.
She's living in a different world. I'm just this schmuck trying to make a living, and if only I could. Anyway, there you go. Uptown Girl.
Okay, there you go.
In episode 5.
Uptown Girl.
So before we leap into all the different little plot elements, your thoughts.
And before you mat Billy Joel.
Before I mat Billy Joel will die in this. No.
I like what's happening in the story, even though I feel like it's difficult to do what they're trying to do in terms of like the beginning of this the destruction of Vaught, or at least in terms of their public image anyway. So this is a difficult transition they're trying to make into what the next part of the story is. I think that Stormfront, that character is providing an interesting thing, an interesting counterpoint to Homelander. Yeah, it makes you wonder. Well, no, I was gonna say it makes you wonder if he survives. But I think he's got a better chance of surviving than Stormfront does.
I agree. I think Kamiko is going to be the one who takes her out eventually.
Although she's gonna need, she's gonna need something other than what she's,
Right.
Maybe she gets some
With help.
V or something like that to do it.
The ghost of her dead brother.
It's certainly interesting finding out that she's older than we imagined.
Yeah, right. So yeah, we'll talk about Stormfront. So we find out that Stormfront was years and years ago, decades ago, known as Liberty, and that Vaught has been paying people off because she's been doing, basically terrible things. I don't know if it's more than... It seemed like it was a series of things that they were trying to keep secret, but one of them in particular we learn about is she did a hate crime and killed this guy on the road, but left his young daughter, I think, alive.
Yeah, it was sister, because her parents were took the payout,
took the $2,000.
Yeah,
and so
$2,000.
So she's been a racist, superpowered person for many years, too many years for the way she looks, which gives one the thought that perhaps she's either part of her power is to not age. Or is it possible she's the daughter of that person? I'd say they suggest that she's that person, yeah, because she talks about changing with the times. So it does feel like she's been around a while, being racist. And something we didn't mention last time, but is very relevant to that, is that we find out the origin of Vaught. Vaught was originally, I think his name is Frederick, but a scientist named Vaught was a Nazi scientist. And he was working for Hitler, and he was testing on concentration camp victims. And then he got brought over to the States, and because he helped his V, he made Compound V. He used it, I think, on maybe some American soldiers, and so he got a pardon. And he set up Vaught and Compound V, and they began as part of a Nazi scientist's company. We then know that Stormfront is very old. Is it possible that she's one of the first iterations of a Vaught,
yeah, I guess it's
hero or something? I don't want to call him here. She's not really heroic at all. I do have a theory. I was going to save it for later, but we're talking Stormfront, so let's do this. All right. We see not only does she have this big, very tense conversation with Homelander, where he's going to thinking about killing her, and then she basically says, look, I'm on your side, and this is how you got to win people over. You don't have to win everybody over. You just got to get soldiers. You don't need just fans. And she's, all throughout the season so far, in each episode, and particularly this one, I think, she's been flirting with him a little bit more each time. And this time she, touches his shoulder, and she's like, hey, at one point she says, I'm around for anything, or something like that. The way she says it, I feel like she is sending out signals to Homelander, and here's my weird theory.
That is okay. I'm ready.
Part of what we've learned here in episode 3, and the big public announcement: heroes are made; they're not born. Right.
Right.
Compound V. Now, the one exception to that is Ryan. Homelander has actually created a superpowered kid. I think Stormfront, being let's keep the races pure kind of person, wants to have a kid with Homelander. So in other words, they're going to make the perfect kid. I think that is her intention, and we may see something like that, I don't know, transpire over the course of the season. That's where I'm going with it, sir.
Okay, all right.
She sees Homelander as like, hey, look, it's the perfect Aryan, God.
She wants to make him so mad at her challenging his authority that they have sex.
Well, I mean, I think she's been flirting with him, and I think that anger is going to flip to some kind of passion. I have a feeling.
Okay,
I'm just going with it.
I will give you huge points.
Okay,
if that's what her plan is.
All right. I was just thinking to myself, it kind of fits with this theme of like, breeding the perfect people, and like, we're better than them, and this is how we do it. I'm perfect. He's perfect. Together we'll make
right. Okay. Yes.
kid perfect.
Sure.
Actually, something else it occurred to me, which is probably not related to the original idea of this comic, but it occurred to me that it's called The Boys. I believe
yes.
And the Boys are the name, I guess, of our group, Huey and
yes.
But it could also, I think, in a weird way, apply to the heroes in that just maybe this is a big coincidence, but the Boys reminded me of the Boys from Brazil.
Oh.
Boys from Brazil. Nazi scientist tries to clone the next great supervillain. And that's the whole story behind it. So it's just interesting how a Nazi scientist is trying to create the next great super thing. Anyway, so the Boys. Anyway, there you go. Maybe there's a connection.
I guess another thread that they could be going down is something that has been revealed in these episodes is girls get it done. So it just may be, they may be
boys, girls.
Yeah, boys, girls kind of thing. I mean, they haven't really set up yet. Like, clearly, even what they developed so far, you wouldn't say that is female centric. Although maybe that's how it breaks down. But like Maeve or Starlight might ultimately come forward more.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like one thing you typically get with someone who has an idea that they want to have children, right? And maybe it's not. Maybe what you're suggesting is less motherly than it is, just sort of spawning.
Right.
So maybe she wouldn't really want to, raise the children necessarily, but it feels like most of her plans are just around taking over the group.
Okay. No, I hear you. That's a reach. I admit that it's a reach. It just occurred to me that it fit this theme of Nazi science and whatever.
My question is, does Juan Carlo Esposito, I had heard.
Oh, okay.
Does he know? I mean, he would have to know, right? That Stormfront is this racist.
Yes, I think he
would have to know, right? So
I think he's responsible for pushing her into this, into the group. In fact. Yeah.
So is that part of a plan, or is he just not or does he want somebody who can counterbalance?
Homelander.
Homelander. Yeah. I mean, because
yes. I mean,
one reason why you would do that is because, like, wow, we don't like you killing our executives.
Right.
So, it's like no one said that to him, but maybe that is something that he's trying to do, is to offset Homelander in some way.
I think that's very true. I think that's at least one of the reasons. Maybe there's other reasons, but I think a good one is I need somebody. And we were thinking comic-wise, it might be Black Noir, but maybe in the show, maybe Stormfront's going to provide that counterpoint. But we've seen how powerful Stormfront is. She kills 59 people. We learned. I mean, they blame it on Kimiko's brother Kenji, who she killed horribly in front of Kimiko.
She was so indiscriminate in her, pursuit of them. She's like, somebody's in the way, I'm just gonna kill. Wait, you're over here. I'm gonna kill you too.
Yeah, collateral damage was more than 34%.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah,
she beat the average on that one. But I think that was there to give Kimiko like a revenge motif, but also to show Stormfront's power when she wants to use it.
So do you think by the end of the series, that more than just the fact that V created these heroes, but do you think they'll be exposed any more than that? Is the real problem is that these killers are these heroes are doing whatever the hell they want and creating problems, actually. So, we've yet to actually have any actual, like dealing with that.
I see what you mean. In other words, like Homelander's a
Where's the
problem.
story going?
And it's a huge international cry to like take out Homelander or something.
Well, and it's just not just Homelander, right? I mean, look at the crimes that
totally agree.
Yeah,
we see he's just the tip of the iceberg. But
yeah, A-Train committed crimes, and I guess we haven't seen Queen Maeve committing crimes, and certainly not Starlight.
Well, I mean, Maeve committed the crime of she agreed to go along with the downing of the plane, right? She could have.
Yeah, but
I get it.
She couldn't have done anything.
She was under threat.
So yeah.
Just saying.
Right.
She's been complicit. She has watched. She stood by while Homelander, like that. He killed the one. I remember early on there was like
just like punched the guy in the chest or whatever. Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, shoot me so that it looks like I was attacked." And fine. So she's been complicit in covering up his terrible things. I think we could see a situation where it becomes there's more of a panic, maybe even about, oh God, these supers are actually not our friends at all.
I think I'm gonna dip more into because I mean, obviously the series is going places that the book doesn't, but it's probably. I mean, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see exactly what they're doing with their story. If the Vaught always has this veneer of being benevolent.
Right. So obviously in this situation, Vaught's stock starts dropping once Compound V comes out, and so as a distraction, Edgar, basically has the manhunt for Kenji. And I get the idea that maybe he's the one that maybe brought Kenji over in the first place to give it as a target for the Seven to fight. And so now it's like, oh, perfect timing. Go get him. Which is what sets in motion much of episode 3. On the boat with Kenji, suddenly the collective, Scientology, whatever. The collective says, hey, Deep, now's your chance to show what you got with the Seven. Why don't you go take Kenji out in this boat? And so the Deep goes with his sharks and a whale, and it doesn't go well. And just like every single time he tries to do something, apparently some creature of the sea gets killed, like the dolphin last season.
So I mean, obviously the biggest conflict right now is between Stormfront and Homelander. Mm-hmm. And then with Vaught and its image, which it's attempted to say that it's innocent.
Yep.
It didn't know, and it was just some scientists. And
deny.
That may pass or not.
Well, they threw out the thing there where they're like, we can deny, but if there's a whistleblower, we'll all go to jail. So that's where that's coming.
Yeah. So that's. But also a question of this religious organization. Are they going to become more of a?
I think the answer is yes. I think what's going to happen is, my theory would be, we're seeing a lot of turnover in the Seven right now. I mean, A-Train gets fired. Homelander's at odds with a lot of the members of the Seven right now, and I see by the end of the season the Deep coming back to the Seven, but this time now he's kind of brainwashed and under the control of the collective. And what that means for, say, season 3, I don't know, but that's kind of what I'm thinking happens.
You think he's actually brainwashed, or if he's just?
I think he'd be brainwashed. He's not that bright. I mean, he's kind of
No, he's not that bright, but it's one thing to convince somebody of something and another thing to actually brainwash. It's like Manchurian Candidate kind.
Well, for instance, in this episode, in episode 4, when he's like choosing his wife, and he's like, "Wait, I thought I got to choose," and like, you do get to choose, and you choose Cassandra. Like they're
right. No, he's weak-willed, but it's different than
So maybe maybe it's that way. Maybe it's not a brainwashing, but I'll do what they say because they have control over me.
It's possible that he feels a connection to them that he didn't feel before.
Okay, that's true.
They're certainly.
I was thinking more sinister.
They're certainly telling him things that he should be hearing. Whether he shouldn't be ashamed of his body, and the behavior that he's doing to hurt other people is bad. I mean, those are good messages.
But I feel like, in other words, he would be.
I understand.
They'll be at odds with the Seven in some way. Like, they're going to want something.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to have to choose. Like, his allegiance will be to the collective, probably, instead of...
Right, I'm just suggesting the reason why he's going along with
Gotcha.
it, which is not necessarily brainwashing, but, well, it's a kind of brainwashing, I guess, but it's like, what is he offering them? Or what are they offering him, I should mean.
Right.
Because
he's offering them a chance to get into the 7. That's what they're looking for. Is here's a guy that used to be in the 7. We might be able to get him back into the 7 if we reclaim his image.
Right, yeah.
And then we've got pull. That's their thought.
It's like one thing that Juan Carlos Esposito, what did you say his name was?
Mr. Edgar.
Yeah, so one thing Edgar talks about in a way is like, the Vaught is the V that's really our product, basically, and the 7 is not.
Right.
That's just,
you guys are disposable.
That is not, and so how many more episodes we got?
We're halfway through. 4 episodes left.
Yeah, so presumably we're gonna get a better sense of what Vaught wants to do before the end of the season.
Yes.
The reason why you would cast Juan Carlos Esposito, besides, just for him to stand up.
This is his character before the Mandalorian. Hey, Kid Lord just came in to visit. But yeah, so this is like pre-Mandalorian. Then there's going to be, Return of the Jedi, and then next thing you know, he's got a Darksaber and he's fighting. You're right. Where are these different plot points going? It's an interesting point. They do have a lot of potential directions they can go here.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they definitely, I felt like episode 4, for a boys episode, was a little slower, was less fireworks, and I think it was kind of table setting for what we might see later. And the reason I say that is because it had a lot of, lack of a better word, relationships in trouble. You've got Huey and Annie. Hey, we had this great road trip. We got along great. And then she breaks it off with him to be like, look, it's not worth the risk. We're in real trouble. I don't like you, but we shouldn't see each other anymore. And they
It was interesting that they resolved the confusion that was between them, but still ended it.
But still ended it. Yeah.
But yeah.
And so it's same with Butcher and Becca. They reunite. Oh my God! Which I didn't think they would do for a long time. That he would find her. He finds her. Everything seems great, but then in the end, they part. She's like, I can't go with you. I've got a son, and you don't really like this son.
No, she does not. No.
He's like,
he's tries to lie. He's like, I know you, and you do know him.
Yeah. And so
you find a way to get rid of him.
So that's a relationship in trouble. We see it.
She should not be going back to him. Is really what the message is. Other than raising her child, I feel like there's more stories she dies. Because then her son has to deal with the fact that his mother
died. And she threatened. That's how she kept Butcher alive. She's like, if you kill him, I will kill myself in front of our son after I tell him it's your fault.
Yeah.
And so, and that's we've talked about things that can't hold in this series.
Yeah.
That's one of the things it couldn't hold, right? Eventually, Homelander would be like, I wanted to keep you alive because I thought it'd be good for the kid, but this is just too much. Fine.
Or more likely, Stormfront might be like, oh, this is a good way to cause problem by killing the mom and then turning your son against you.
Yep. So that's another relationship in trouble. And in some ways, Becca and Annie break it off with their respective, others. In some ways, because of Homelander. I mean, not entirely, but in some ways, I feel like you are in danger if we stay together, so we shouldn't. In some ways, there's a similarity between Becca and Annie in that situation. Frenchie and Kamiko.
But if you wanna match somebody though, maybe Maeve's girlfriend.
It's almost punching down though, right? I mean, it's like she's just sitting there in a hospital bed, and is not a super. I feel like that would be so dark that you wouldn't do it. I feel like she's
darker than this show.
I feel like she doesn't get killed. I'll say that. But
I mean, what other story is there for them?
A reason for her to leave the 7. A reason for her to
leave the 7.
She being Maeve.
No, I know, but I'm saying for them to live happily ever after and leave the show.
Well, no, but for her to be with Elena, or maybe she breaks it off with her to save her as well. Maybe she does the same thing. Like, she pulls that thing that I always hate, that I mentioned, I think when Tyrion did it in Game of Thrones, where it's like, I love you so much that I'll have to convince you I hate you for your own good so you'll leave. I'm like, come on. Nobody does that.
Right.
But
anyway, I feel like, now that Homelander has said that he's fine with everything, that there's no threat.
Oh, he was not serious about that. The look on his face when he's like, I'm so happy for you. Like, he wouldn't bother.
No, if he meant that bad, he wouldn't publicize it.
Right.
And then, no, he wanted to use it for his own purpose. He felt alone at that point, so he didn't feel a connection to her. He was more upset about the fact that she betrayed him. And then she's like, fine, I can't put any stock in you. You go and do that. No, he's not.
Because he outs Maeve. That's his punishment to her.
Yeah,
and so
right.
It's like, look, she's gay. We have a gay member. We're not, right. Which is weird. It's like, we're not so white. We have a white lesbian. Like, that actually doesn't solve that problem at all. But okay. I also liked his comment about we got Black Noir. I mean, he doesn't identify as any race, but so we got those covered.
Yeah.
Homelander.
Non-racial. The non-racial.
Homelander.
Contingent.
He doesn't see race. No. So you're right.
He just sees blood.
So he punishes Maeve that way. But I feel like, given a low moment, he could still decide to be like, I'm going after Elena.
Yeah, but then what's the story reason for that, though? Just because he's upset. I mean, right. No, it's like, they have to be some arc involved with that. If she decided to leave, then, boy, she would be dead. Her girlfriend, because then if her death would be like, now I want revenge. So the story reason for her to die is that, so that Maeve would want to get revenge.
I got you. Well, I could see a Maeve versus Homelander type situation. Maybe not in the next 4 episodes, but by the end of the series.
But it might be another thing that Stormfront does to
drive a wedge,
disguise it as Homelander.
Other relationships we see that are in trouble in this particular episode would be Frenchie and Kimiko. Frenchie tries to kiss her while she's worried about her, despairing about her dead brother, and that didn't go over well. He also stops her from trying to kill Stormfront, which is probably a good idea, but in the moment she doesn't see it. She's like, damn you. Which actually did remind me of, one of the things that Homelander does with a doppelganger, who's disguised as Stillwell, is watch Taxi Driver. Here's our date movie. But in Taxi Driver, I mean, one of the big plot points there is he's walking up to this politician to do assassination. He doesn't do it in the end. And it's kind of a similar thing here. It was a big public display. Stormfront's talking, and Kimiko's walking through the crowd with the idea of, like, I'm going to kill you publicly,
right?
And then she gets stopped.
But obviously, also too, story of a vigilante.
Yeah, good point. So their relationship is in trouble, which I think will inevitably get out of trouble. I think they will have some kind of relationship by the end. We've got, of course, the Deep and his arranged marriage. Like that's not even a relationship, but it's a pairing. That's very odd. And then you've got, of course, I guess, Homelander and himself. Homelander is feeling like he attacks Starlight because he had ordered her to kill Huey and she hesitated, and so he's feeling threatened. That's why he fires A-Train, mainly because A-Train's got these heart problems. But he fires A-Train. He attacks Starlight. He outs Maeve. He's kind of put himself at odds with pretty much every member of the Seven, practically.
Well, and still though, I don't think that's necessarily making her mad.
Making who?
Because it allows her to be with Maeve. Allows her to be with her girlfriend.
Well, but she wasn't out for a reason. I mean,
Well, primarily because of
think she's
Homelander.
Well, I don't think she appreciates.
That's what she said. She's like, Homelander's going to kill you if he finds out.
I'm just saying, that was a pretty huge breach of trust. And
oh yeah, it was a bad thing to do, but she doesn't. She's not like mad at him afterwards. She's more like, what are you talking about? And then she expresses relief.
All right. I feel like she'd be mad about that, but okay. All right. Maybe not. But in any case, Homelander has lashed out at different members of the team. Yeah. And so then his respite, he goes and Doppelganger, I assume he must pay him a ton of money because let's put it this way. That is a dangerous gig.
Oh, yeah.
What Doppelganger is doing in that episode is, I mean, you're just like, that dude's got dead written all over him. Like, right. I'm going to emotionally manipulate Homelander. Like, okay, I hope you got a lot of cash and already spent it because you're on a very short clock. Anyway, so he plays the part of Stillwell. Then later, after the confrontation with Stormfront, Homelander returns and Doppelganger tries to do the Stillwell treatment again, and it's not working. And so instead, turns into Homelander. Momentarily, it looks like it might be working until he says the line of like, and it's not even gay because it's yourself. Oh, right, yeah. And then when he says that, Homelander is like you could his face. He reacts with like oh wait, people would say this is gay. All right, you're done. Like I feel like it's an interesting choice. You get to see it on his face that it's like, I'm not into this anymore. You ruined it, and now I'm gonna kill you. And so he calls him.
I mean, there's several reasons why he could have decided to kill him at that point. I just think that I mean, I wonder if the whole thing wasn't that he knew that this is playing with fire, because anytime he gets mad, it could kill him. In fact, it might have been the whole thing like, God, I've got to keep him happy if I want to live. And so, you don't like this? Okay, I'll think of something else. I'll do this. We won't do anything. Don't worry about it.
Well, yeah, and then of course there's the no witnesses. I assume too. There's got to be. I mean, but it sounds like they've done this for a while.
He kills since her death, I would think. I don't know before that.
I mean, like they got the whole milk thing that they do. Like that's planned, right? I feel like that's like I want the milk things. I want you to. Like, he wouldn't just guess that, right? I mean, like, he'd have to be told.
I mean, he might have been. I don't know if you ever saw Carnal Knowledge.
It's been a while, but yes.
Yeah, so there was that whole element of it where he's with Rita Moreno, and Rita Moreno goes off the script. Right. And so part of their interaction is that you say certain things, you do certain things. And so, we've seen, a level of that, which is, don't say this and don't do that. But, they could have developed that, yes.
But, so my point being that they've been together probably multiple times, which means that if it was...
before that,
if it was get rid of witnesses...
It's not like because he's playing the part when he arrives. Doppelganger is already playing the part and acting the way he's supposed to act. So, of course, that's already been established. So, I just don't know if it was before she died that they began. I assume it was after.
Yeah, I guess it didn't have to be. But good point. I mean, we did meet Doppelganger back in season 1, playing a different part. But my point being that if the point of killing Doppelganger was to leave no witnesses, if that was simply the reason, he would have done that a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
And so that's not really that's not the only reason in that moment. Like, you saw me be vulnerable.
No, but it's just another example of him saying, I don't need anyone, which is the point of it. Yeah. You know, I don't need anyone. I didn't need her, even after he killed her. Initially, it was sort of like, is he regretful that he did that? And maybe he could possibly learn that, okay, if I want people in my life, I should value them and not, turn all Bart Simpson on them in Treehouse of Horror. It's good that Bart did that.
It's good.
Real good.
Good, Bart. So I think that we will see a resolution to these various relationships, for better or worse, by the end of the season. Annie Huey, Butcher Becca, Frenchie Kamiko, and we'll probably see the Deep and Cassandra probably together, in public going, hey, everybody. Some fun little Easter eggs. I liked all the little memes that Stormfront had created about Homelander.
Oh.
they were making him terribly angry. She's like, look, you paid hundreds of millions of dollars for your little preachy program or whatever, I threw out some Arby's coupons. and I got guys to, do my memes for me. Also, they deliberately made Starlight have the worst candy bar flavors as her favorites. I mean, I think they literally went out and picked Bit of Honey, Charleston Chew, and what was the one that she had? Oh, Almond Joy, I guess. Anyway.
Yeah, like Almond Joy. I don't think that's nearly as bad.
It's not the worst. It certainly isn't
not.
Bit of honey is like a weapon. Yeah. I mean, it's like you bite it, you're like, oh, my cheeks! God! I think we can all agree that the worst, it's not a candy bar, but the worst candy you can purchase, Circus Peanuts. You just don't come near them. They're an insult to candydom.
I don't know. Even though there are people who are partial to it, black licorice to me.
Jackie, my wife, she is a big black licorice fan. But
wow,
there you go. I know. I'm kind of like, oh,
mixed marriage.
You're right. Oh, one thing we did learn, which is kind of interesting, some backstory to Mother's Milk. Mother's Milk, we find out he has OCD. He does the tapping thing, and he has to keep very clean, and there's like little rituals he has. We find out his father was a lawyer who went against Vaught and was, getting buried by lawyers, but from the other side, and at some point died, like early, age 55.
Yeah.
I don't. It could be that he was killed by Vaught, but it sounded more like he just died of a heart attack or something. He's like, he had a disease that I've got, and I don't want to pass on my kids, something like that. Anyway, I couldn't tell.
Well, I felt like the disease that he had was, I'm going to get Vaught.
Right. You're right. Exactly.
And so
like
he
a metaphorical
has that.
disease.
Mother's Milk has that. I'm going to get Vaught, and I don't want to pass that on to my
I'm
kids.
obsessed with the need to take down Vaught. Yeah. So maybe Vaught bumped off Mother's Milk's dad. I don't know. But the OCD is an interesting angle for his character as well. But anyway, so there you go. Episodes 3 and 4. We'll be back talking about episode 5, and of course, what are we up to? Oh, I think we're up to episode 5 of Lovecraft Country as well, which we've already watched. We decided to talk about it.
Right.
So we'll be back. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it, sir. Have a good one, everybody.
Sure. Bye.
Bye.